don't dwell too much on the bad races. That's something I always try to tell myself, and a piece of advice I'd give to people. And then when I find myself in that spot, I feel like it's really hard to listen to that advice and try to move on. But I think the best thing you can do for yourself is just focus on the next race. Just keep showing up every day, putting the effort in, putting the work in, and eventually it'll click.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Liam Murphy today on the Running Effect podcast. If you are not familiar with Liam, he actually was on the podcast close to a year and a half ago. And since that point, he's been on an absolute tear, specifically over this past year. He made the final at the U.S. Olympic track and field trials last summer. He had a really successful cross-country season. It seemed like every race he lined up at, he was in contention for the win or winning. In the case of the Big East cross-country championships, I'm not mistaken, he won that race. And then this indoor season, he ran 7:35 in the 3K, 13:10 in the 5K. He had a chip on his shoulder after not performing as well as he wanted to at the indoor meet. And so then he went out and on his first race outdoors at the Raleigh Relays, he ran 3:33.02, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1500 meters, a new collegiate record. Liam's on fire. He's a super well-spoken guy, brought a lot of wisdom and insights to each of the races and more that I just mentioned. I know you guys are going to enjoy getting an inside look at one of the best collegiate athletes, not just right now, but truly ever. I mean, 3:33 is the fastest any collegiate has ever run. So I think that is backed up, that statement. If you guys enjoy this one, share it with a friend, a teammate, family member, anyone who you think would find value and benefit from it. Make sure you are following or subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen so you never miss another episode. And make sure to give us a 5-star review. It takes like 5 seconds. With all those notes aside, enjoy my conversation with Mr. Recent Collegiate Record Holder, Liam Murphy. Mr. Liam Murphy, welcome back to the Running Effect podcast. Quite a number of accolades since you were last on the podcast, so a lot to go over in today's conversation. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing excellent, man. So going back to that conversation we had, and I would have to look back at the exact date, but I think it was the end of 2023. So it's been, close to a year and a half. You were a good guy. Like you were good enough that I wanted to hear your story, and I felt like you were on a great trajectory, but you hadn't done anything crazy. I think you had made a few NCAA meets and you were starting to make a name for yourself, but nothing insane or out of the ordinary at that point. What would you say has been the difference maker in the last year and a half to really cement your name in the NCAA and really progress every single season?
Yeah, I think nothing really that jumps out in my mind that I've been doing that's been that crazy in the last year and a half. I think it really just comes down to just stacking weeks on weeks. Yeah, I mean, I think I've been really lucky and fortunate to not really come up with too many setbacks or injuries and stuff like that. I've really been healthy for the most part. I think that's like the biggest thing. If you're able to stack those weeks of just being healthy, yeah, it really adds up over time. So I think just consistent training, making the sacrifices that are necessary, and just sticking to it every single day. I think in the short run, you don't really see too much improvement, but over time, it definitely adds up. And I feel like sometimes it may not feel like it's coming together, but if you keep doing the right things week after week, it turns into months, then the whole year of solid training. So I think that's really what's been the biggest thing for me, just being able to stay healthy and enjoy the sport and take it week by week.
Has been nice kind of flying underneath the radar. Like I think a lot of people, talk about Gary or Ethan, or I think more so like a year ago when I had first had you on, like those two dudes weren't even that talked about. Has it been nice to I feel like it's only as of late that you're starting to get more attention and pressure.
Yeah, I think so. I think at a certain point, you have your own expectations and you put your own pressure on yourself. So I don't know how different it'd be if I was more in the spotlight compared to what I am now, or vice versa. So I think, in a way, I think I was talking to my coach about that too. Just after indoor NCAAs, he says you don't really realize it, but there's so much, like, if you don't feel the outside pressure, a lot of times you're just putting it on yourself. And I feel like that could be even worse in some cases. So. I think yeah, it's definitely, I would say, I guess, easier and makes my job easier being under the spotlight. But at the same time, you still have the same goals and expectations for yourself. So I think at the end of the day, you're just trying to live up to those goals you set for yourself and those expectations that I want to reach and what I train towards every day.
Do you like pressure or no?
Yeah, I think you could look at it two ways. I think sometimes definitely it can get the best of me, and sometimes it feels like it's too much at times, and I think it's a mindset where you could either let it get the best of you or do your best to control it. And I think, yeah, I think when people ask me about that and people ask me, like, oh, how do you calm your nerves and stuff like that? I think for me personally, I think it's always going to be there regardless of whatever the race is. Even if it's a race, you're a small race to open your season up that you're supposed to win, or it's the U.S. Olympic trials. I feel like the nerves, regardless, are always there. And I feel like I've been fortunate enough to be in races with guys like in that Olympic trial final, like Cole Hocker or the U.S. trials final with Cole Hocker and Yared Naguse and stuff like that. And you could see all those guys; they're just as nervous as I am, right? And no one's protected me to win that race. And those are the guys that everyone's expecting them to show up in the day. So I think everyone's always in the same boat, regardless of whatever status you're at, whatever race it is. So I think it's really just doing your best to control those nerves and that pressure. And if you're able to channel it in a way that's productive and beneficial, I think you could they set yourselves up for a good result.
How do you manage your own expectations for yourself and make sure that they're high enough that you have something to work towards and your ceiling's not too low, while at the same time not making them too crazy that you do put all this unhealthy pressure on yourself that's affecting you in the day to day?
Yeah, I think for me, I just like taking it race by race. Obviously, the goal for everyone's winning championships and the races that come at the end of the year and championship season, stuff like that. That's obviously the goal on everyone's mind and which is you're focusing on. But I think it's just taking it week by week, just seeing whatever race I have on my schedule and just going from there. I think taking it that way and taking it day by day, it's a lot easier to focus on what you have ahead of you and what's coming up in the present. So I think doing that works well for me. Because if I focus on NCAAs and start thinking about that now, you work yourself up, and there's just too much pressure when you're thinking that far down the line. So yeah, I think it's just taking it step by step. And yeah, I think obviously you want to have big goals and expectations, and I think that's great. I think setting your goals high is a really good thing to do, and it pushes you every day when you have those big goals. But at the same time, I think setting realistic goals week by week and being able to hit them is also just as important. I think if you have a week of the goal for the week is just getting a great solid week of training in, taking it workout by workout, run by run. I think that's what really sets yourself up for the success. So when those big goals are always on your mind, it's also important though at the same time to take it to step by step and achieve those small goals.
Let's walk through some of your performances since you were last on the podcast, since we last spoke with each other. I think something that stands out to me, obviously, is the U.S. Olympic trials, which you mentioned, 2 responses ago. What was it like to make the final? What was that semifinal like? And what did it mean to really put yourself in a position where 2028 comes, you're like, oh, I've been in the final before. Now the only thing left to do is make a team.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a really cool experience. I think coming off NCAs, that was like 2 weeks before the trial started. Yeah, it was just a complete disaster at that meet. And I think at that time of the year, especially with the NCAA guys, that year has been so long. Like if you run cross country and you're making it to the NCAAs in cross country, that's a crazy long season compared to the pros. So yeah, I think that it's almost like a full year at that point when you start building up for cross country, which is probably like July or late June. So yeah, it's almost a full year when you're still going. And then just coming off that NCAAs, it was a lot harder just to bring myself back up mentally and physically. Um, it was just a lot coming back out after that trip because I was in Eugene for obviously the NCAAs. You fly back for a week and then you go back out there for the trials. So it's definitely a lot mentally doing that, being an NCAA guy in that environment. But I think, yeah, I just treated it like it was a new opportunity. And obviously, when I'm in my position, not a pro that's like Yared or Cole, when everyone's expecting those guys to make that and make those teams, make those finals, there's a lot less nerves and expectations on you. You can go in with your own expectations and, hey, my goal is just to make the semifinal. And then once you're in the semifinal, it's to make the final. So I think that's definitely a lot easier for guys like that when you're going into a race like that. But I think it was definitely a really cool experience. I think that was like my first race, really, or first just like meet when you're racing pros and you're taking it like by prelim and trying to make the final and semifinal stuff like that. So I think yeah, it was definitely a cool experience. And yeah, that's obviously you're racing the best guys in the country right there, and making that final, I think definitely solidified for myself that I could be able to be up there with those guys and compete.
correlation between not competing well at NCAAs and making the final, because you and Ethan did not have good races at NCAAs and
Yeah.
then both out at the national meet.
Yeah, I think that was I mean, yeah, I'd say we were probably I was probably in the similar boat that he was. So that yeah, I think for both of us to make that final was really cool. And I think yeah, I'm sure you saw that photo of us coming across the line together, which is pretty cool. But yeah, like you said, it's just when you don't have the good race you were looking for the previous one, being able to come back 2 weeks later was pretty cool.
Obviously, you mentioned the photo that was kind of iconic at the time of you and Ethan both, hands raised, excited to make your first U.S. Olympic trials final. How much like camaraderie and brotherhood do you feel with the fellow collegiates at these national meets, where it's not the collegiates versus the pros, but I know you guys have a chip on your shoulder, and I know the pros are like, yeah, you guys are under us, you're not pros yet. Like, welcome to our stage.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about running and going to national meets and stuff like that. You kind of see the same faces in college. It's the same way in high school when you go to like Foot Locker, NXN and Brooks. You're seeing the same guys over and over. So I think it's really cool just to be around people that are making the same sacrifices as you. And I know how much those guys are putting it to get to where they are. And I think it's really cool being around those guys when the meet's over. I think I find a lot of fun in that, and it's just really cool talking to guys that have the same goals, same passions, and all that stuff. And yeah, while we all want to beat each other, and that's the main goal, and no one's really friends before the race. I think after it's really cool when you could relax and talk to those guys and yeah, just make friendships and stuff like that. So I think that's been one of my favorite parts with the sport, honestly. Just the friendships I've made through being at championships like that and meeting guys that are at the same level I am and have same passions and goals to reach the next level. So I think that's obviously really cool. And like you said, we're trying to beat the pros and the pros don't want to lose to us. So going to the meets like that when there's a mix of both levels is pretty cool too.
A few months before the U.S. Olympic trials was a meet by the name of Penn Relays, and you were part of the 4x1 mile relay team that ran 15:51.91, which today stands as the second fastest outdoor mile relay time in the world. What was that race like? And I know for the Big East schools, like Penn Relays is always not just a big deal, but a fun deal. Like the teams and the schools and the coaches seem to put a lot of weight in it, but it's really unique where it's way more focused on relays, less individual events, and things like 4x mile or DMR, like honestly are some of the most exciting races year round if you're a fan in the sport. What was it like to be a part of a 4x mile that was not ridiculously tactical like we've seen for honestly all of time, and actually be able to run something that you and the boys are capable of?
Yeah, I mean, for us, like Penn Relays is one of the biggest meets of the year, just because of the history we have and all the alumni that have produced the results we've had as for Villanova over the years. So yeah, I feel like when I came in to Villanova freshman year, that's like the first thing you hear about is just the Penn Relays, how much that means to the school, the alumni that come back every week during that week of the Penn Relays. There's like 50 to 70 alum that come back, and they all just stay in Philly for the week and get ready just to come there and watch those relays. So it's definitely really special for a lot of people that have came through the program and obviously the people in the team. So it's definitely something we take pretty serious. And it's always something that's going to be on our schedule, whether we like it or not. I think sometimes it falls at an inconvenient time during the year when you want to chase like personal goals and try to get new PRs and stuff like that. You got to plan around it a little bit, but it's definitely a really cool event. I think that's one of the coolest team events and team bonding experience I get here at Villanova is just how into it everyone gets. And even aside from just the four guys that are usually on the relays, like you all our teammates and stuff like that, it gets so into it. So it's really cool for a lot of us, and we take a lot of pride in it. But I think that 4x mile, obviously, like you said, there's so many teams that go into that and have the capabilities of running sub 16, but it always turns out just slow and tactical. So you never really know if that time of the day is going to come. But yeah, I think the Virginia guys last year, they went for it pretty early on, and you can kind of see when the pace is there. But all it really takes is one guy is the anchor, like to slow it down. But Gary's a great runner who likes running from the front, and he took it pretty honestly from the beginning. And I think the pace, like we knew the pace was there. But yeah, it's just a really cool experience being able to do it. And I feel like everyone regardless whoever wins, I think all the fans and stuff like that always complain that it's tactical. So it was pretty cool to get the win, but and also get a sub 16.
Looking ahead to this year, because by the time this episode comes out, it'll probably be like a week or 2 weeks before, Penn Relays. How do you feel going into this year's edition? And has there been chatter around the locker room or on runs about what you guys want to do?
Yeah, I think that yeah, this time of the year it definitely starts ramping up the Penn Relays talk, and everyone starts thinking about it more. But our coach is so last minute with that stuff and indecisive. Like some guys won't even find out they're running till the morning of. So we pretty much have no idea what the team's going to look like. But it's definitely something, yeah, we're starting to think about. Yeah, I think we'll put together a great team. I think we got a lot of young guys now that are excited to run, and they're all capable of running great time. So I think if we're expecting or the race plays out at another sub 16, I think we'd be ready for that. But yeah, it's just a cool event that I'm looking forward to and something I look forward to all year.
Fast forwarding to the fall cross season, I would think it's not too far of a stretch to say that you're probably more of a track guy, probably enjoyed a little bit more. But I feel like cross was where you really broke out in that event, in that sport. I feel like every week you were doing something that I was like, oh, maybe this guy isn't as much of a track guy as I think he is. Take me through the cross season and what it meant to you to build that strength and that foundation that ultimately will set you up for success this season.
Yeah, I think cross country it's a crazy sport. Just how much mental energy it takes and physical energy and just how much of a beast that sport really is. And it's so much different from high school cross country. And I think a lot of times when you see success in high school cross country, you feel like it's gonna play right out into college. But it's just such a big learning curve when you first get there. And really for just about everyone. Obviously, there's some guys that come in right away and they're killing it off the bat. But for the most part, I really say like 95% of people, there is an adjustment period where you just got to get more mileage under you and get used to that 8K, and then at nationals goes up to 10K. So it definitely is a lot. But I love cross country. It's such a fun sport. I think being able to each race, each course is something new, something different. It's not like track where if you're going to do a 1500, you're going to be expecting probably the same thing, same tactics, stuff like that. So yeah, cross country is just a crazy race, and the higher you get and the more competitive a race you get when there's so much talent and you go to races like Nutty Comb and stuff like that. It's just crazy how many people are around you from the start to the finish. And just knowing how deep the NCAA is now and how crazy that NCAA meet gets, it's really cool. But at the same time, it's a crazy mental battle being in an environment like that. But yeah, I think for us, just the program we are and the training we do. It's a lot of volume, and I think that plays well for a lot of us going into cross country, and it makes it easier for me when I have to make that transition from track back into cross country or vice versa. So I think that's why I'm able to adjust well and see success in the grass. But yeah, it's just a crazy mental grind that I think some people struggle with, but you got to embrace it for how much it's going to hurt.
What race do you think meant the most when you look back on your performances?
From this cross country season.
Yeah, this past cross country season.
I think Duddy Comb was really cool. That was the first race of the year, and just being right there for the win, I think I got really close. And then Parker and Rocky broke away from me a little bit at the end, but I think that's a race I really cherish and I'll look back on because I think that was like one of the first races on a big stage and considered a big meet that I was really close to winning. And yeah, it was really cool. And then obviously NCAAs, everyone likes to do well there, and it was a great year having it at Nutty Comb or the Wisconsin course. Sorry. So yeah, finishing top 10 there too was really cool. But yeah, like I said, each race is it's so different. But it definitely helps when you go to meets like Nutty Comb throughout the year and you're racing top guys.
Looking ahead to this past indoor season, recapping that, at the national meet, you ran the 3K, 5K, but for whatever reason, I wouldn't say for whatever reason, you just had an NCAA record in it. Like, I feel like you're a 15-mile guy. What was the decision to run the 3K, 5K indoors, and where do you feel like your future lies in terms of events, what you like the most, what you're best at?
I think the decision process for doing the 3K 5K, I did the 3K last year, and I think you could argue that if you take the in between, the 3K would be my best event. So and obviously I think during the period of winter we just treat it as a base block, and we're doing a lot of mileage and keeping the training high and just keeping the volume up. Because if you plan on racing in the trials, and the trials got moved back even farther this year. It's just a really long season. So if you plan on racing in the summer, it kind of is hard to hit a peak in indoor and then try to also come back up, hit a peak for NCAs, and then have to do it again for the trials and all that racing that comes in the summer. So you really got to plan accordingly what races like and stuff you're focusing on. Obviously, you still want to do well at NCAs and the championship comes up in indoor, so it's not something that we're not focused on or not giving our best effort. But I think that's kind of where the 3K 5K decision came in. And I did the 3K last year and felt like I could have done the 5K as well because I feel like everyone that competes and is up there for the win and 3K the next day does the 5K. And I felt like I was strong enough this year to handle both. So that's kind of where that decision came in. But to answer your question, what event I think I'm best at, I'm not really too sure. I think I have more fun doing the 1500. So I think I'll stay that this outdoor and try to get more races in there and focus that for NCAs. But looking down the future and looking down the line, not too sure. I guess maybe if I get stronger and get more mileage under me, I could be more competitive in the 5K when the time comes for the end of the race. But I think, yeah, I have fun doing the 15, so maybe I'll stick to that for now.
Speaking on like closing a 5K fast, what are your thoughts just generally taking a break from recapping some of your races on the state of American distance running, whether it's in college or at the professional level? Like Grant Fisher is just like not human. And he ran a time like 13:10 in the 5K, and it's remarkable. It's faster than Grant's PR in college, obviously. But then like you look at what he ran indoors, or just like how fast he's closing these races. What are your thoughts on just like the state of American distance running, and how exciting is it to you to be a part of it, and also know that like you're one of those guys that as the Grant Fishers and the Cole Hawkers are like starting to exit the sport, you're going to take over.
Yeah, it's definitely incredible to see where the level is reached now. Even in the NCAA, it's insane how deep it is, and you go into an NCAA championship or just a high level invitational throughout the year. There's so much talent, and yeah, it's just unbelievable. I think each year really it get each season too. It just gets crazier and crazier. You know, you like we saw guys last year run 7:36, 7:37. You're like, man, how much faster can it get? You keep each year an NCAA record gets lowered and lowered, and then you saw Parker and Ethan run 7:30, and then Ethan run 7:48. So yeah, it just really opens the door and it changes people's perspective on how fast you could run. And I think that definitely is a big factor as to why so many people are running fast. I probably honestly never would have thought that sub 350 or something like 333 would be possible in college. And then you see guys do it, and then Gary did it at Milrose. So yeah, it's just unbelievable the level of talent that's the NCAA is at right now, and U.S. running in particular. I was telling something the other day. I think it's going to get to the point where there's going to be an American who's probably a sub 30, 330 guy, 329 that won't make a US team, which is just unbelievable. And I think it just gets the boundaries get pushed farther and farther. And when you have guys like Cole and Grant leading the way, that definitely, I feel like, inspired a lot of others and myself too. You see how fast they run. And like you said, you run 13:10, that's a crazy result. It's a great day. And then 3 weeks later, Grant runs an indoor world record. So it definitely just it shows you what's possible. But yeah, there's so many levels to it, and you're just trying to chase the next level.
Putting you on the hot seat here, who has a greater chance of winning gold, Cole in the 15 or Grant in the 5K or 10K
Well, that's
this
tough.
year at
That's a
Worlds?
tough question. Yeah, I think I'd say right now, just based on their fitness and just seeing where they're at, I'd say Grant. He's just crazy strong. But the 1500, it's so unpredictable, and I would not be surprised if Cole were to win. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think they both honestly got great shots. So either way, I could see them both winning that gold.
What's your take on Jakob? When's he going to figure it out? Or should he just move on to the 10K?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, it's so unpredictable those 1500s. I'm sure before the Olympic final, no one would have said like his worst day he was getting a bronze, and then he misses the podium. I think the 1500 is just it's a crazy event. Like you miss. I always tell my teammates too that do the 850 and stuff like that. There's like with how good everyone is and the tactics that go into it, like you make one mistake and it really could cost your race. Just with how competitive it is and how aerobically strong people are getting in the 1500. It's just crazy. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, it is crazy that he can't figure it out. But I mean, he is I'd say the best runner in the world. So I would still want to count him out towards winning that gold this year too.
When you're growing up in the sport, who are the runners you looked up to?
Um, I'd say honestly, I didn't really. I'd say like probably as you expect, and most runners that have been running for as long as I have, like really get really into the sport when they were young. But I haven't really. It kind of took me a little while to get like excited and into like professional running, so I didn't really follow too much of it growing up. But the more I get into sport and the more I see professional running, it's obviously a lot cooler to follow and guys that I know and have raced against now, it's really cool. But yeah, I think I just appreciate running against guys like Grant, or actually I don't think I've raced against Grant yet, but like Cole and Yared. I think that's really cool, and seeing guys like that have followed similar like similar trajectories and paths that I have, and going to the NCAA system and stuff like that, and now they're killing at the world level. I think I consider some of those guys my favorite runners, and it's just really cool seeing what they're doing and that they're doing it as American distance runners and they're pushing the sport forward.
Are you allowed, obviously you're allowed to do whatever you want, but in your head, are you allowed to be fans of people in the sport? Like, could you realistically allow yourself to be a fan of Jakob, or is it like, do you try not to? Because we'll use Cole as an example. Like, at the
Yeah,
end of the day, you don't want to line up at USA's in the final and be like, oh, that's my favorite runner. Like, at the end of the day, you're trying to beat him. Like, you
yeah.
want to win, you want to beat him. So are you even able to like be fans of people anymore? Is it more just like, I respect you, I appreciate watching you?
Yeah, my dad asked me that after I think it was after the trials maybe. He's like, "Oh, do you find was it like really cool like being next to those guys?" And I was like, "I mean, yeah, it is. Like it definitely is it's cool because those are the guys at the top of the sport." And he's like, "Oh, like yeah, that must have been like a great experience, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't really look at it as like I was like, "Oh, wow, I can't believe I'm next to these guys." You know, because I think obviously you respect what they do and the goals they've achieved and the accolades they have, but I feel like when you do the same thing every single day as they do, and you're trying to get to where they are, you don't really see them as someone as like someone you look up to. Um, but yeah, I think it's just have a mutual respect, and they're gonna put a great race out there in the day. But I feel like if you go into that race thinking like, oh wow, like I'm a big fan of this guy, um, I think it'll just be a little harder to beat them. So yeah, but I mean they're incredible runners, and being able to be in races like that with them is special because you're in a good spot and you're doing the right things.
Talking about the indoor national meet, which happened not too long ago, you placed, let me see here, fourth in the 3K, 11th in the 5K. I know you wanted more out of those results. What's your reflection, about a month removed from it? And obviously we'll talk about the 1500 NCAA record, but how do you feel like you use the insights and data coming out of it to like fuel you for this outdoor season?
Yeah, it was honestly just a really just disappointing weekend. I think each season going into NCAAs, obviously, I feel like I'm in a good spot, and I want to believe I'm in a good spot to win. And yeah, I just go in with that expectation, and when that's your goal of winning, when you see it starting to unfold in the race, and it gets a little out of your grasp like more and more each lap, it's really hard to just mentally keep going and rally to get through the race. And I think just that Friday I had just a really off day physically in the 5K. Um, and when a race is that deep and those guys are so talented, there's just no room for error. And if you're like 5% off on the given day, like you'll really struggle. And I think just a mix of it not coming together in the day and maybe letting the nerves and pressure get the best of me. Like we were talking about it earlier. Sometimes you might not feel the expectations of other people, but it's the expectations that you're putting on yourself and the goals you want to achieve and the goals you're capable of. And I was talking to my coach after, and he said, because he ran it professionally a lot, Marcus Sullivan, and he's like, man, I feel so bad for you guys, but how much social media is in your face these days. He's like, you don't really realize it, and you might not be putting the pressure on yourself, but you're seeing it so much. And if you see one guy that predicts you to win, or one guy that predicts you to get eighth or whatever it is, that psychologically just gets in your head a little bit without even realizing. And then you start feeling like the expectation of, oh, someone's thinking I could win, which obviously could definitely be a possibility, and you could take it either way. You inspire you to run great in the day, or it just gets in your head a little bit. So I think just balancing the expectations and the goals I put on myself maybe got in the way a little bit as well. But I think just coming off that week, it was just obviously really hard and upsetting because when you do everything right, you make all the sacrifices and everything goes in to the build up pretty much perfectly. Um, you're just expecting a lot on the day, and to not have that come together, and everyone knows how much goes into NCAAs and how much importance is on that meet. It definitely is really hard. But I think moving forward, you just got to do your best to put it behind you. I think for the week after, it was hard accepting it, and then just accepting that actually happened. But and then obviously wasting the opportunity and not being able to get that back. But I think the best thing you do for yourself is just move forward. And usually we usually take like 2 weeks off maybe, or just a couple of days, but no racing, like just getting good training in. And then this year our coaches wanted us to do the Raleigh Relays, and I honestly thought it was a joke at first when he's like, "Yeah, you guys gonna be racing in 10 days." I was like, "No way! He must be joking." So yeah, that was definitely a little shock to me just to do that race that early on. But I think in some ways it's almost better just to get back out there and just put it behind you and look at the next race.
Yeah, do you feel like that Raleigh relay race where you run 3:33.02, new NCAA 1500-meter outdoor record, like do you feel like that was necessary in terms of if you had taken the break, like it may have you find confidence from evidence, right? And now you have evidence that like you are who you think you are, and you can run the times and win the races that like you think you can do. How big was that to switch up the schedule a little bit and run, a race off the beaten path that you laughed at first, but then you come out of it with an NCAA record? I'm sure your confidence had you doing that race is much higher than your confidence had you not done that race.
Definitely, yeah. And I think sometimes going in a race like that, there's not really any expectations. Like you're just going into it. And we did a lot of training that week, and it was honestly the goal was just get a hard effort in. We were gonna do a workout that day anyway, so you might as well just get a hard race effort in and feel what it's like to be tired on the day, which is pretty much the goal. Um, so yeah, we weren't expecting much, and I think originally the pace was gonna be set for like 3:38. And our coach would say, "Hey, just go in there," and obviously that's not in today's standards a fast time by any means, but it was just go in there and feel the effort and get the race in. And then I think Gary hopped in it kind of last minute, and then he requested for the pace to be 3:36. And I feel like whenever he's in a race, like he always pushes it and goes for it. So we were able to come on pretty strong at the end and shade the time down. But I feel like sometimes when you go into a race with that mindset of just not really expecting much and you're just going out there just to compete, it in a way almost sets you up, I think, better because there's just not anything you're expecting, and there's not really as many nerves as a championship meet and stuff like that. But I think, like you said, yeah, obviously getting right back out there and being able to have a good one definitely feels a lot better than had I not and taken the break coming off NCAAs. So I think, yeah, it's just proof that what we're doing and the training I'm doing is working. It's just being able to put it together in the day and not let unnecessary thoughts and pressure and expectations get the best of me when the big races come around.
Wrapping up this conversation, looking ahead to the outdoor season, obviously not a bad way to kick it off with an NCAA record, but where's your heart? Where's your mind? What are some things you want to accomplish this outdoor season?
I think yeah, since it's obviously my last season in the NCAA, I think the biggest thing is just enjoying it, enjoying every day, being around my teammates, soaking it all in, having fun. I'll definitely explore professional running after this and look at that next chapter. Um, but I feel like there's just certain moments and the camaraderie you get from college running that I won't get at the next level. So I think it's really just enjoying the moment and soaking it in and just being around my teammates, having fun. And then, I mean, yeah, goal wise, I think it's just taking it race by race. Hopefully, I'll be able to race Wake Forest in a week from now. So maybe if I'm feeling good, I think we're trying to shave down the 3:33 a little bit. So if the things come together in the day, that'd be the first goal I'd say is up next. And then just Penn Relays and stuff like that. Obviously, trying to do my best at NCAAs. Only got one more chance left for the title, so it'd be pretty nice for it to come together and win my last chance. But yeah, it's a long season. The trials got pushed back even farther this year, I think. So yeah, got to look at that in your schedule and maybe some racing in Europe over the summer, which would be pretty cool. Head out there a little bit. I know a lot of guys do that, and it looks like a lot of fun over there. So yeah, some great races you can get in. But yeah, I think it's just enjoying the moment, appreciating it for what it's worth, and just having fun in my last couple months in college.
Speaking specifically on one of those races, the NCAA outdoor 1500-meter race this upcoming June, I think it would be, that debatably could be the most stacked championship race of all time that we've ever seen. Just to name a few names, obviously you, Ethan, Gary, Nathan, the list goes on. I mean, it could be a race stacked full of, sub 335 guys, depending on how fast people run this outdoor season leading into it. What's your take just as you think about that race and as your training is geared toward that race in that moment? Everything you're doing right now is preparing you for the 3 minutes and 30 seconds that you'll run in Eugene this June. Like, how excited are you to not just have a chance at a title, but like, again, this race is going to go down in history as like you're going to look at the names and the accolades and what they go on to do. And I think 10 years from now, we're going to look back on this race and be like, those five guys were all in the same race. What's your take on this race?
Yeah, I feel like every NCAAs, I feel like for the last 2 years, I feel like it gets to that point where like, oh my God, wow, look how crazy this race is. I think we saw that in the 3K, this indoor, and then probably the 1500 outdoor last year as well. The talent is just getting so crazy in the NCAA. And yeah, you don't even like realize, but like a guy like Adam Spencer, like he's an Olympian. So you have guys like that in the race. It's not even a name you probably just mentioned there. It's crazy how deep it is. And yeah, there's just so many guys that could win, so many guys that could run all different types of races, from the front, strength, kicking to win, just stuff like that. But yeah, it's really cool being able to be in consistently race these guys and be up there with them. And I think, like you said, looking back 10 years from now, it's going to be crazy to see, after seeing what everyone accomplishes, thinking that we were all in an NCAA final together. But yeah, no, I think it's honestly just inspiring as well too when you see how much talent there is and how deep it is. I feel like we're all on good trajectories to do something special at this outdoor and in the future as well. So I think it's just taking it step by step. And yeah, obviously looking forward to that race and gearing towards that because it'll be a crazy race.
Liam, final question for you. For those who have listened to our conversation, what's the final takeaway message that you want to leave with the audience?
I'd say don't dwell too much on the bad races. I think that's something I always try to tell myself and something a piece of advice I'd give to people. And then when I find myself in that spot, I feel like it's really hard to listen to that advice and try to move on. But I think the best thing you can do for yourself is just focus on the next race. Just keep showing up every day, putting the effort in, putting the work in, and eventually it'll click. Sometimes it might not come together on the given day or the race you're looking for. But if you keep showing up every day and take it day by day, regardless of your last outcome, I think it'll set you up for a great spot and put you in a spot to run well your next time around.
Liam, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for dropping all the wisdom and insights from the last year and a half. And congratulations sincerely on all of the success. I know you train hard and work so hard for it. So you deserve it all and excited for the coming months to see all the things you'll accomplish.